people. Bring on. I will no longer allow any of you. So stop your sighing. To keep me down. Be happy again. I got the sneaking suspicion that we're not giving the people what they want.
It's okay, baby. Let's give the people what they want.
So today I'm finally sitting down to talk about Joker, Folie, Deux. Now I don't speak French, so I will be calling the movie Joker 2 throughout the duration of this review. However, I did research the translation and it means Madness of Two, in case anyone was interested. Now, this is a film that, if I'm being honest, I wasn't exactly rushing out to see. Todd Phillips is back in the director's chair, Joaquin Phoenix returns as Arthur Fleck, and on paper this should have felt like an event. The first Joker movie left a huge impression on audiences, Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar for it, and whether you loved or hated that film, it definitely got people talking. Now, I didn't manage to catch this one at the cinema, and at the time it came out, all I was hearing was negativity. Not just mixed reactions, outright disappointment. So I kind of parked it to one side, but eventually curiosity got the better of me because I actually did enjoy the first film, just not in the way I think it wanted me to. I liked Joker as a character study. I liked it as a bleak look at mental illness and trauma, and at how someone can be failed so badly by the system that they eventually snap. What I never liked was the fact that it was a movie called Joker. This is, of course, Batman's most iconic villain, and yet Batman isn't in the film at all. That always felt like a strange creative choice to me. And you can actually read my full review of the first movie on my website. I will leave a link in the description below. What's frustrating is that Joker 2 doesn't just repeat that problem, it somehow makes it worse. This is another Joker movie without Batman, and this time around, it barely even feels like a Joker movie at all. The film opens with a cartoon recap of the ending of the first movie, and straight away I found the tone a bit baffling. It feels silly in a way that doesn't sit comfortably with the grim, grounded approach the first film went for. Once that's out of the way though, we rejoin Arthur Fleck, who's been locked up in Arkham Asylum for 2 years following the events of the first film. And I will say this, once the story properly gets going, the film does start off fairly strong. There are scenes where Arthur is being interviewed and questioned about his crimes and his childhood, and about the trauma he's been carrying his whole life. These moments genuinely pulled me in because they raise an interesting question. Is Arthur actually suffering from some kind of split personality? Or is the Joker persona something he's deliberately suppressing to fool the people around him? Is he fractured, or is he far more aware of what he's doing than anyone realizes? That psychological angle is where the film works best. And it made me hopeful that the sequel was going to lean harder into the themes of mental illness and institutional failure that the first film flirted with. And unfortunately that never really happens. A lot of that disappointment comes down to how the film handles Harley Quinn. Now, when Lady Gaga was first cast, I honestly thought, perfect. She's theatrical, unpredictable, and has the presence to go toe-to-toe with Joaquin Phoenix. I was excited to see her take on Harleen Quinzel, right up until I found out she wasn't playing the psychiatrist at all, but instead another inmate at Arkham. This really annoyed me, because it highlights a problem I had with the first film as well. Why are we changing character origins that are already so strong? The Joker and Harley relationship works so well because of that psychiatrist-patient dynamic. It's disturbing, it's manipulative, and it adds layers to both characters. Stripping that away just feels unnecessary, and it weakens what could have been a really compelling psychological relationship. Another thing I never thought I'd be asking of a Joker sequel is, why is this a musical? I'm not even saying that as a joke. When I first heard the musical angle, I didn't immediately hate the idea. In fact, I thought it could work if the songs were used to represent Arthur losing touch with reality, or retreating into his own head. And to be fair, when the musical numbers kick in during those moments, they actually do work quite well. The problem is that the film doesn't stick to that idea. Instead, you get these random musical numbers popping up that completely kill the mood and momentum. They feel awkward and out of place, and rather than deepening Arthur's psyche, they just pull you out of the film. I kept thinking that this would have worked so much better if the songs were only used when Arthur's grip on reality starts to slip, or if they just committed to not making it a musical at all. The lack of focus extends to Arthur's relationship with Lee, and honestly, I just didn't buy it. It's such a shame because you have two incredibly talented actors, but their relationship feels underdeveloped and unconvincing. There's none of that unsettling obsession or emotional complexity you'd expect, and it never really lands in a way that feels authentic. What makes this even stranger is that the film forgets its own ideas. One of the most uncomfortable and memorable aspects of the first movie was Arthur's uncontrollable laughter, and the fact he had a card which he carried on him explaining his condition. That was central to his character. In this film, it's just gone. It's never acknowledged, never referenced, and it honestly feels like the filmmakers just completely forgot about it. I am also someone who really enjoys courtroom dramas, so when Arthur's trial begins, I was genuinely invested. There was real potential here to explore public perception, media spectacle, and the blurred line between accountability and mental illness. But all of that interest disappeared the moment Arthur starts representing himself. From that point, the film becomes increasingly silly. He suddenly starts using this strange southern accent which comes out of nowhere, and I couldn't stop questioning whether any court would actually allow a man on trial to prove he's insane to represent himself in the first place. It completely took me out of the story. What's frustrating is that the film does occasionally brush up against something genuinely dark and interesting, particularly towards the end of the movie when Arthur is abused by the guards at Arkham. And this is where I really felt the disappointment set in, because there are moments here where you can clearly see a film it could have been. If it had focused more on the brutality of Arkham and the institutional cruelty Arthur faces, and it showed that pushing him further and further into the Joker persona. This could have been genuinely powerful. Those early Arkham scenes, combined with Joaquin Phoenix's full commitment to the role, hint at a much stronger film that just never fully materializes. As I mentioned earlier, my biggest issue with the first movie carries over here, and it's even more glaring this time around. Why is this a Joker movie at all? There's no mention of the Wayne family in the sequel. Bruce Wayne would still be a child at this point. Harvey Dent is in the movie, and he is a grown man, and again, this bothers me because he eventually becomes a Batman villain. The timeline makes no sense. You could have just made an original crime movie about mental illness. Harvey Dent in particular really frustrated me. There's an explosion in the courtroom that injures him, and we get this brief, fuzzy shot of scratches on one side of his face. Where's the acid? Where's the disfigurement that defines the character? Once again, it just feels like the film wants to borrow iconic names without committing to what makes those characters work so well. Harley even tells Arthur that she's pregnant, and that storyline goes absolutely nowhere. Was she lying? Was she manipulating him? The film does not seem interested in answering that question. Now, I'm not going to go into full spoilers, but the ending of the movie left a bad taste in my mouth. There is a moment involving another Arkham inmate carving up his face, and I genuinely couldn't tell what Todd Phillips was trying to say. Is this meant to be the real Joker? Was Arthur Fleck just the inspiration? And if that's the case, it does feel like a cheap nod to Heath Ledger's Joker, which really annoys me as you leave that version of the character alone. By the time the credits roll, I wasn't angry, I was just confused and disappointed. I couldn't work out what the film wanted to be. A musical, a courtroom drama, a psychological character study, or a comic book movie. It tries to be all of them and just ends up committing to none. And I think this is where it is worth being clear about who this film actually might be for. Because if you loved the first Joker movie purely as a grounded character study, and you're happy to see a sequel experiment in strange directions, there's just enough here to maybe keep you engaged. But if you're going in expecting a bold reinvention, a meaningful continuation of Arthur's transformation, or anything resembling a proper Joker sequel, I think you're going to come away disappointed. So for me, Joker Folie à Deux gets a 2 out of 5. There are ideas here, and there are flashes of a stronger film beneath the surface, but this is a sequel that didn't need to exist, and ultimately misunderstands its own title character. As mentioned earlier, you can read my review for the first Joker on my website. The link will be in the description below. And if you've enjoyed this review, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more weekly movie reviews. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next one.